What's up everyone? Alex here. At some point in our lives, something inside us stirs a desire for adventure. And as we grow up and become something of ourselves, we'll start to meet many wonderful people, some of whom will touch our lives forever. But as the days filled with dreams and ambitions get replaced by responsibilities, it becomes easy to forget those happy days. Such is the case of Ryza Stout, who has returned to her home at Kirkconnell and has taken up the unenviable position of town alchemist, bombarded with loads of alchemical requests daily. But as yet another summer approaches, it appears as though her seemingly listless life is coming to an end, as a mysterious set of islands emerge from the depths of the lake where her hometown can be found, promising yet another rousing adventure with Ryza and friends. Atelier Ryza 3, The Alchemist of the End and the Secret Key, is a slice-of-life RPG developed by Gust, featuring a combo-based real-time battle system that's got a healthy heaping of crafting, and serves as the final chapter in the Secret Trilogy. The footage that you're seeing right now is from the PS5 version of the game, and I'd like to thank Koei Tecmo for providing this review code. Unlike other Atelier games, the Secret Trilogy's combat mechanics are all rooted in a hybrid, real-time turn-based system, but I wouldn't go so far as to call it active time battle. The combat gameplay loop revolves around controlling one party member in real time, inflicting damage using physical attacks to build up an AP meter, which then allows you to execute physical and magical AP skills, which can then fulfill orders from other party members that signal them to unleash powerful attacks. While this is all happening, a tactical level meter builds up that'll let you extend your physical attack strings, as well as a core charge meter that governs item usage, much like MP in other games. If this all sounds familiar to you, that's because much of Ryza 3's combat remains unchanged from the previous game, save for a few much-needed UI improvements that make the battles a little bit more comprehensible. Ultimately, Ryza 3's combat feels like it's faster and at times overwhelming, given how you have to keep track of several gauges to maximize the amount of damage you're inflicting. This is, of course, on top of making sure that your party members are in proper stances that'll let them either deal a ton of damage or heal the rest of the party should battles last longer. Despite its frenetic pace, and being away from the series for 2 years, I found that I was able to get back into the swing of things fairly quickly, which I worked towards unleashing massive combos that had my party tagging in and out of combat while dealing high damaging AP skills. And, as you might expect, it wouldn't be an Atelier game without a ton of crafting, and the material loop system, present in previous games, makes a return here with a fresh coat of paint. To put it simply, this works by filling in specific material loops with the proper ingredients to alchemize the product from the given recipe. Some recipes even have the ability to unlock more recipes, and this can only be done by gathering rarer materials while you're out on the field. And much like previous games in the trilogy, you can always use the auto-add materials function if you feel like you don't want to meticulously min-max every product you make, which is great for more traditional RPG fans who want to focus on the other aspects of the game. Much like its combat, Atelier Ryza 3's crafting system is mostly unchanged from the previous game, and when you compare it to its first iteration, it's certainly a lot more approachable, giving players the option to either minutely tweak every single item feature to their heart's content, or allow players to just craft things automatically by way of auto-add. I don't know what the next Atelier crafting system is going to look like, but the Secret Trilogy's material loop system is probably going to go down in history as one of the most complex and rewarding systems that manages to appeal to both hardcore and casual crafting fans alike. But what makes Atelier Ryza 3 unique is something that's actually built on top of both of its combat and crafting systems, which are the eponymous keys. Keys are initially created either by visiting landmarks scattered across the field or from enemies during battle, though you'll have more options to make them as you progress. You can utilize these keys in a variety of different ways, either by equipping them to give characters stat boosts, buffing your party during battle, enhancing the quality of gathered items on the field, or boosting or changing entire material loops during crafting. Given that the keys serve as an additional layer of customization, it's certainly up to you to figure out how to utilize the advantages that go along with it. And it can often make some challenging boss battles trivial if you know how to properly set it up. Taken together, the key system really complements the meticulously engineered systems found in the game, while still allowing these parts to shine on their own. It's a smart way of injecting additional depth that just gives us a lot more to play around with, pushing the overall gameplay depth of Atelier Ryza 3 even further. But what's also great about this is that it continues the Secret Trilogy's tradition of allowing more casual players to decide on their own whether or not learning these systems are worth investing time in, giving them other options should these overwhelm. And if later on, you change your mind and you do want to learn these nuances, that depth is there for you to find, waiting for you to unlock its fullest potential. When Atelier Ryza 2 added the PS5 to its release platforms, the bridge that spanned the technology gap between supported platforms got a ton wider, and with it, introduced a new set of technical hurdles for Atelier Ryza 3. Because Ryza 3 now features an expansive explorable field not broken down by individual zones, this led to compromises to its graphical fidelity. For starters, the massive valleys and expanses that you'll look onto feature aggressive blurring in the distance when depicted outside of cutscenes. This blurring effect was probably created to hide the fact that low-resolution textures and models are being used in more distant environmental elements, which is a compromise brought forth by the game's release on the Switch platform. But to also find it present on the PS5 is a bit of a letdown, especially given how much more powerful that system is. And despite this blurry filter being present, you can see some pretty bad shadow, model, and texture pop up whenever you utilize the game's ziplines. This design decision also goes against the reason why you'd want to design a massive landmass to begin with. For me, one of the most fun things about exploring open areas like these is that I could see an obscure detail in the distance, point at it, and say, I want to go there. The added blurry filter makes distant locations far more obscure than it needed to be, though some areas were designed to have massive silhouettes to signal that they're important. Additionally, while bloom effects have always been present in the previous games, I do find that there are areas of Ryza 3 that have excessive bloom depending on the time of day. This unfortunately obscures the more intricate details of each character's texturing and models, which take away more from the ambiance than add to it. Last but not least, Atelier Ryza 3 has a serious legibility problem. From time to time, there'll be cutscenes whose text won't be surrounded by a dialogue box or any sort of outer glow or drop shadow, creating very little contrast that makes it very tough to read. Even worse, the text during party banter that occurs during exploration utilizes an even smaller font than this one, virtually making these interactions practically impossible to read in instances where there's little contrast to be had, or if there's a lot of things going on. I'm thinking that Gust retained the same font sizes that they used with their Japanese characters, and merely applied them to the English text, which isn't great given that font sizes all need to be adjusted accordingly to ensure proper legibility. While the missteps may sound numerous, there's actually a lot more to love with Atelier Ryza 3. In particular, I want to give special attention to the massive areas that you're able to explore in Ryza 3. While it is true that the blurriness of the environment may potentially detract from wanting to explore these areas, this by no means deters from the seemingly chill nature of it all. Granted, the visceral feeling battle system may seem at odds with the concept that Ryza is a quote-unquote chill game, but the speed in which you complete these battles allows you to get back to the exploration quicker. After all, apart from exploring the countryside, you're all doing this to get better and better materials to use for crafting, which in turn improves your items and equipment. What's more is how Gust was cleverly able to incorporate many of the zones from the previous games in such a way that it invokes a feeling of nostalgia for longtime players. I still remember when I first founded the secret hideout with Claudia, Lent, and Tao in the first game, and as soon as the three requested that they visit the place again, admittedly, I shed a tear. Which leads me to one of the most powerful weapons in Ryza 3's narrative arsenal: memories, once attached to the people and places you've encountered in the entirety of the Secret Trilogy. When the four are reunited once again, you can't help but feel happy and elated to see them together, remembering all of the wonderful adventures you've had in the past and the potential of what's to come in their final adventure. And when you start venturing further and further away from the secret hideout, the group starts to reminisce about the happy days of their youth, when they were free to explore the world with wide-eyed wonder that helped shape them into the people they are today. This is a feeling that you won't get by skipping out on any of the previous games, and is one that's uniquely targeted towards fans who have stuck around from the very beginning. I'm not one to say that you should play a particular series in a specific order, but given how much of Ryza 3 is rooted in remembering your time with this cast, I feel that it's practically mandatory. Else, these moments when the group reminisces about their previous adventures will have little to no significance. Of course, this sentiment is unique to the Secret Trilogy, as Ryza is the only Atelier protagonist that's had an entire trilogy dedicated to herself. This feeling of growth and nostalgia over the years is also reinforced by Ryza 3's soundtrack, which features many of the tracks found in the previous games, with some select tracks enhanced for this outing. Hearing tracks from previous games really helped get me in the mood that I'm back in familiar places, further making me hyper-aware of what's surrounding me as I dove deeper into Ryza's new adventure. And rightly so, because it felt to me that Kirk and Isle remained the same, despite the seeming lack of loading screens in between areas. It's only in Ryza 3 that you get a feeling of scope and size hidden by these black loading screens, further immersing you into its world. And that's of course saying little about its story, which continues the trajectory that Ryza 2 laid forth. Ryza 3 features a more involved narrative that still manages to be the same slice-of-life game that started the trilogy back in 2019. And with the largest cast in the trilogy's history, there are moments that feel more epic, not only due to the scope of its storytelling, but also because its larger scale environments and the ambition that it carries along with it. With the previous game setting the standard for many of its gameplay systems, Atelier Ryza 3 takes the momentum of these innovations and manages to figure out a way to complement them in interesting ways. And while not everything is perfect in Ryza's final adventure, it's certainly one that I'll remember for a very long time. When the credits finally rolled, I felt extremely emotional in a way that very few games had done so before. Because to me, Ryza and her friends aren't just characters that grew alongside each other, they're our friends too. And to see them triumphantly stand together at the end of their journey, past histories be damned, is a testament to the merits of long-term storytelling. Much like how it started, Atelier Ryza 3 ends this trilogy with a wholesome narrative, an exciting battle system, and a refined crafting system to boot, all of which are the perfect ingredients for a fantastic gaming concoction that caps off an incredible journey, one that's a must-play for anyone who's joined her in her previous adventures.